Hello folks, welcome to another edition of Duck Talk. My name is Eric Lateska. I'm here today with Scott Wolgamuth. Scott, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the honor.
So we'll start with some of your accomplishments, Scott. We know you're a Hall of Fame member of the DPBA, the NDBC. You've been DPBA Bowler of the Year 2 times, 2 out of the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Most recently last year. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You are the owner of 10 Pro Tour victories, which puts you 6th on the list all time, which is 10 is an incredible number. So I don't mean to start the top of the interview by sort of showing your age, but
that's okay.
But you've been around a long time, and you continue to compete at the very highest level. The best example of that being last year, winning outright the Bowler of the Year on the DPBA Pro Tour. What do you attribute your continued success, sustaining your level of competition to in this game?
I'd say 3 things. 1, a lot of practice. 2, an inborn desire to succeed. And 3, a lot of God-given talent.
Excellent. And always on display. And so, we'll just jump into the Eastern here, because here we are. The longest held tournament. This is the 85th running of it this year, and you've won it 2 times, right?
Yes.
2 times, and you are, of course, the owner of the tournament and world record for 12 games, 2066, a mark that is it's very hard to see anybody beating that. What keeps you coming back?
The competition, friendship, the love of the game, and an opportunity just to enjoy doing something that I happen to be good at.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. We'll move off of the Eastern topic for a moment and ask. So you've been on the Pro Tour for a long time. You've had a lot of really good matches. Even recently, you were in a match against Luke Robustelli. I think there was a couple of 200 games thrown against each other. You were on the winning end of that. A couple of years ago, you were in a match against Scott Sponheimer, 201 to 200. You were on the losing end of that, but
right.
Still an incredible game on your part and on Scott's part. But look back over your career. What's like some of the most exciting matches that you can recall?
Not that they were close matches, but the most exciting matches that I've ever bowled were the first 2 in the stepladder finals of the Pro Tour back in 1982. I had never made a dime in an open tournament. I was a long way from being a top-ranked bowler either in the Washington, D.C. area or nationally. People looked at me as being a tall, skinny, loudmouth who he could bowl. I shocked a lot of people that weekend in 1982. The person who was shocked the most, I think, was myself. A very dear friend of mine had to lend me the money because I literally was a poor college student. She didn't want half of the proceeds. She didn't want to be my backer. She just wanted to guarantee that I was going to give her a check for the amount that she was kind enough to lend me. And obviously it was very easy to give her that check since I was fortunate enough to win the tournament. I shot back-to-back 200s that day in the stepladder finals. That had never been done on the Pro Tour in its history. And what more can I say? It was like a fairy tale come true.
Yeah, and you've gone on to a lot of success since then. That reminds me actually of the story. We'll go back to the Eastern for a moment. You shot that 2066. I'm very curious to hear what you remember about it, some of your favorite moments. But we know that you were in Sports Illustrated.
Yes.
Featured in a Sports Illustrated article. Many newspaper articles, but what I think sticks out to me about the story is that you had to get talked into bowling that tournament that year because you were coming off of an injury, tendonitis?
I was coming off of multiple injuries, including tendonitis in the arm, wrist, and elbow. I was unemployed at the time at the Eastern, so financially I didn't have a lot of extra money to, if you want to say, invest in my tournament participation or to spend and go enjoy being out of town with friends for a weekend. Jeff Piles basically came up to me and said, "You are going to the Eastern." I said, "I can't." He said, "We've taken care of that. You're going to the Eastern." I said, "Okay, I'm going to the Eastern." You asked me what were some of my fondest memories of that weekend. One of the fondest memories, and I apologize if I'm embarrassing any of Jeff Pyle's two younger children, but probably my favorite memory of that weekend was it was a blinding snowstorm. It was Jeff, Debbie Pyles, his wife, Todd Pyles, Lisa Pyles, and myself all crammed into a little Honda Accord, singing Bible stories that the kids knew. All five of us were just singing along to the tape. No, there weren't CDs back in those days. It was probably an 8-track tape. But that's probably my fondest memory of that weekend, just being among friends and sharing common interests.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. So you said singing and jam-packed car. All right.
Yes.
So that's the key to success. So let me ask you, Scott, in your opinion, who is the best duckpin bowler ever?
That's a question that I'm going to choose to defer to answer, because I think that the times, the conditions, everything has changed so much. I wish that I were old enough to have been able to enjoy the participation back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, when duckpins were in their heyday. I wish I could have had the privilege of watching Nick Tronsky bowl, among others. The two best bowlers probably that I've seen in my 35-year career on the Pro Tour would be Jeff Pyles and Don Dove. Might sound very partial, they're both from the South. Other people would say Peter Pearce and Swede Labors. Swede's one of the greatest men, often on the lanes, that I ever had the privilege of bowling with and against. I miss that man terribly. I wish he were still around to enjoy the game. He was a class act and an asset to our game.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you gave us a couple of names, and I'm actually glad that one of them was your friend and competitor, Don Dove. So let me just ask a question here. I mean, you guys travel together, show up at every tournament together, sit behind each other when one of you is bowling on Sunday and the other one's not. Very supportive and mutually beneficial friendship between the two of you. Does the competition always stay friendly between you two?
In tournaments, yes. I will say that Don is my least favorite opponent when it comes to legs. I hate bowling against him. It's like there's not that much money involved in the leagues. It's more the, I think, self-induced pressure of, I want to beat him, but at the same time there's also that admiration, that appreciation, that friendship of I want to see him do well. So I feel like I'm caught in a proverbial gerbil's wheel. I don't know which way to go. So it's difficult. It's very difficult to bowl against him in leagues. It's very easy to in tournaments.
Okay, so in match play, do you know who's got the better record, head-to-head?
I would say it's pretty darn close. I don't know that it's exactly 50-50, but I can't ever remember a period of time where either of us has won more than like 2 matches in a row against each other.
Wow, very tight race then. Huh?
Very tight, very, very tight.
And lots of years. It's not a small sample. We're talking about a lot of bowling together, right?
We've been traveling together on the tournaments for almost 15 years now.
Well, so I'll end with this question. It's about Don. Do you think you'd be as good a bowler as you are if you weren't friends with Don Dove?
Absolutely not. He's, for the last 10 to 15 years, he's been my coach. He knows my game, I know his game. If he says, Scott, you're dipping your shoulder, I don't have to second guess and go, am I? If he points it out, I'm doing it wrong. And I think the reverse is true. I remember one particular league match many years ago where I was bowling against him in a mixed doubles league, and he came out of the gate just horrible. I said, Don, you're overthrowing the ball. I regretted saying that because he still, even though he had about 45 in the fourth, he managed to shoot about 500 that night against me, and I'm going, part of me is really glad that I said something, and part of me is going, why did I do that? That's just an example of how close our friendship is.
Yeah. Bittersweet night for
yes,
you, I guess.
It was a bittersweet night. Yes, indeed. Good way of summarizing it.
So that's the last question I have. Thank you so much for being with us.
You're very
Scott.
welcome.
It's a pleasure. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us.